Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. We are back in Bulgaria. I just finished a few weeks in Montenegro and Serbia. It was nice to get away. First time since being in the lockdown of Corona. I am disappointed to say I have been to 0 new countries this year. So horrible. Very disappointing. Anyway, hopefully maybe later on in the year we will find out. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the subject of something that I've seen online a little bit, which is, hey, can you legally avoid taxes, or heck, avoid taxes at all by using an offshore bank account? We're going to find out the details of how this is true or not, how it might apply to you. So let's jump into that. Before doing that, I hear that the people who are the smartest in the world click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, so please do that. If you like this video, please share it with your friends, click the like button, obviously at the end. If you don't like it, tell me so in the comments below. And if you want any help, we'll give you some details about if you want to talk to us later on. All right, let's dive in. So I'm doing a series of videos here right now based on an annoying post that I saw on Instagram. And basically it kind of gave this, oh, here's how people avoid tax thing, or how big companies avoid tax. And the problem was, it just wasn't true. Like, it was this idea that, kind of like the loose concept of it is loosely accurate, but very deceptive. And then I went through the comments, and oh my gosh, people's comments, I mean, they were just, anyway, it was a little bit annoying to me. So we're going to talk about this. So one of the things was, somebody had a comment there about, oh yeah, well, you can avoid tax by having money in an offshore bank account. And I was like, what? Oh boy. Okay. And of course, I guess that this fits into what a lot of people, might think, etc. So I figured I would address it. So most of the people who are probably on those sorts of comments are Americans. And it certainly was an American reflective post because it had a picture of Jeff Bezos, and so there's a lot of implication of Amazon and lots of people's comments about American companies and things like this. But the truth is that we have to separate out country by country because there's different approaches, right, in different places. So let me use a few examples. So one of these examples is countries that have a remittance-based system, okay? So for instance, there is kind of a quasi-remittance-based system in Gibraltar. There's a quasi-remittance-based system in Singapore. There is sort of a remittance-based system for non-dom residents in Malta. There is sort of this remittance-based thing that they've got in UK for, again, similar sort of deal, which is non-dom residents, okay? So maybe I'll do a video in the future about domicile versus residence, because that's a little bit of its own confusing topic. Now, if you have a remittance-based system, then maybe, just maybe, having your money in an offshore bank account may reduce your tax, okay? Maybe. Good chance that they still tax local source income, good chance that you doing the work in the country still makes it local source income. If you're talking about a company, then you may constitute a permanent establishment, and the permanent establishment then triggers the tax. Therefore, it's a fairly narrow array of situations, usually to do with investment income, that might pan out, okay? If you're not in that situation, which if you're watching this, you are probably not, then where you have your bank account means pretty much nothing, okay? It has almost nothing to do with where you pay your taxes. So let's just quickly go through this. First of all, most countries tax worldwide income, okay? I would say about 70-ish%. It's not a precise number, but something like that of the world's countries tax worldwide income. And so because of that, it doesn't really matter where the income is earned, doesn't really matter where the income is stored, none of that. It's subject to tax. Now we're talking about on a personal level. On a corporate level, the same thing is true. The difference is that you could potentially separate out multiple companies, and then it kind of can play a little bit of a different game, okay? The flip side is even countries that have territorial tax typically don't base the territoriality on where the bank account is, okay? So even if let's say you're in Costa Rica, or let's say you're in Malaysia, or let's say you're in Hong Kong, places that all have territorial tax, right? Well, if the work is done in that country, that's where the operations are. We could go extreme and say that's where the customer is, that's where everything is. Then it doesn't matter if you're having the money sent to a foreign bank account. You do not save tax this way, okay? So we use offshore bank accounts for a variety of different things. One is typically for if we're in a situation where we need to somehow reduce risk, right? There may be some risk mitigation pieces around that. So maybe there's an unstable country. You just think, for instance, right now, we're just finished going through this corona. We're not finished it. We're going through the corona thing. And what's happening? A lot of countries have declined production, especially countries that are very highly dependent on tourism, right? And at the same time, they've had quite high spending, right? There's lots of different bailout packages coming, etc. What did we see in kind of the Eurozone crisis, right? We saw people in Greece had a lot of problems. People in Cyprus had a lot of problems. People in Iceland had a lot of problems. People in Latvia kind of, we're getting in there. We've got Portugal, we've got Spain, we've got Italy, we've got, potentially Croatia. You start running down the list. It may not be that safe to keep money in your own country, okay? And there's lots of conversations we can have about that. The second thing that happens is if you have offshore operations or an offshore company, you may need an offshore bank account, right? So whether that means it's offshore to you and the company is in another jurisdiction. So for instance, maybe you set up a company in Malaysia and you have a bank account in Malaysia, but you're in, I don't know, let's say you're in UAE, right? So that would be offshore to you. You might have an offshore to the company, for instance. Super common one that we're seeing these days is people who are getting set up in Malta, okay? Now in Malta, it's just super hard to get banking. So pretty much you're gonna have to look at banking somewhere else. That's just the way that it goes. And then I would say the final reason, something that kind of came up, we did a video recently about the SEPA region and SEPA transfers. So you may want to have various services that are associated with having a bank account in a particular case. So those are usually the reasons that we have offshore bank accounts. We don't typically have offshore bank accounts. In fact, we never have offshore bank accounts because of tax, okay? So offshore bank accounts, banking in another country, perfectly reasonable, might make perfect sense for you. Who knows? You have to look at that case by case. If you'd like to ask us questions about how it applies to you, please reach out to us. There's a link below you can go and check out. But otherwise, you may be in a situation where you can say, okay, well, I really need to figure out the tax side separately, and then in order to make that work, or for one of the other reasons I mentioned, you may do the offshore banking. So anyway, hope that helps. If you like the video, click the like button, share it with your friends, click the subscribe button, the notification bell. If you would like to get some advice, please reach out to us. There's a link below, clarity.fm/Michael Rosmer. You can book a call with me. Otherwise, you can check out our websites, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapital.com, and residencies, citizenships, company formation, bank account opening, international tax planning, asset protection, payment processing, all these things. Reach out to us and I will be happy to respond to you and see if we can help you out. So anyway, we will see you guys on the next video.